Lagos State approved 2025 budget has sparked concerns after revelations showed that more funds were allocated for lawmakers' vehicles, generators, and assembly renovations than for erosion and flood control, even as residents continue to grapple with devastating flash floods. According to the breakdown, the Lagos State House of Assembly set aside 20.6 billion naira for vehicles, including 40 backup vehicles, 40 utility buses, and 40 official cars. The budget also earmarked 4.5 billion naira for 50 kVA generators and 50 kVA generators and 11 billion naira for major renovations of the assembly complex covering gate houses, car parks, and the main building. Another 30 billion naira was allocated for a new fence, a landscaping, beautification, and an access road. Altogether, this project will consume 65 billion naira, nearly double the 33 billion naira budgeted for erosion and flood control. This comes as flash floods continue to ravage parts of Lagos this week. On Tuesday, heavy rainfall left several communities in Mushin submerged, with roads impassable and businesses disrupted. Traders, motorists, and residents lamented severe financial losses as vehicles were stranded and commercial activity ground to a halt in waterlogged areas. On Wednesday last week, the Lagos State government apologized to affected residents for large portions of the city remained paralyzed following the downpour. My brother does live in Lagos, and it has not been a funny experience given the rain and how bad it has been with commuting. What are your thoughts?
The inhumanity, inhumane nature of those who have been serving the duty of leading the people in the schools. There is no sane society with right-thinking leaders who care about the people that would budget for personal effect much more than, the budget for personal effect is higher than the budget for flood control. It's even more troubling when you consider the history of Lagos and floods.
Right.
Flooding in Lagos is not just a prediction. If I tell you that in 2026 parts of Lagos will be flooded, I shouldn't get an award for that. Because it is something we have lived with over the years, because it is a known history that Lagos is below sea level. So the moment it rains to a certain level, or and the place is flooded, the water just comes naturally to place. And this is not isolated cases. Even in the most exquisite areas of Lagos, like the highbrow areas of Lekki, and the rest of them get flooded. In fact, if you get flooded there, you begin to wonder, what is it about?
Given the exorbitant rates that houses are being rented.
Now, for a state that have this history, you would have thought that flood control every year would be a priority. Beyond the temporary flood control, you would have even thought that government would have been, sponsoring research to see how, if possible, have a permanent solution to flooding issue in the state. But alas, that's not the case in Nigeria. The government would rather engage in frivolities. These guys budgeted such amount of money for cars, had cars before. And when I say have cars, I don't mean they have some low cars. They have exorbitant provision for them to cushion even the hardship that has become entrenched as a result of the party they all belong to. As a result of the misgovernance of their party, they don't have any cushion for their workers. Some of them, if you give them companies to run, now the first thing they will do is to remove every allowance that belongs to the workers. Yet, they are working for government with with heavy pay, and they are giving themselves allowances that are unknown to history. Where in the world do people get generator? You get allowance for a generator. You're budgeting for fencing. It's terrible.
Is that the most? This budget, is it the most important thing that Lagosians need? Now, I want to ask you this based off of the fact that you lived in Lagos for a very long time, right? Do you think that this is the most pressing thing that needs to be fixed?
It can't be. The news even compared it with flooding. We have not talked of education, no matter how much they would claim they have budgeted for education, education, as far as I know in Lagos State, still require funding, and indeed in every part of the country. Now, in other climes, even where government has successfully taken care of the government-owned schools, they even make funds available for private schools. Because they understand that even such schools are helping to solve societal problem, even if it be like a loan, you know, but just make something available, even if it be as a support to the teachers in those schools who are poorly paid. You have healthcare. Healthcare is in shambles. Yeah, Lagos healthcare may be a little bit better than when you compare to some other states, but it is not where it should be. No, so we have many areas that this excessive wastage would have been plowed into.
Why do you think this keeps repeating? Especially, you said this is not a, you know, it's not a I am a seer situation where you say it's going to rain and you deserve a clap of hand. So this is an expected thing yearly, especially with the sea levels in Lagos. Now, when these floods happen, you know, it doesn't just affect the poor. Actually, my brother that I mentioned lives in a very good part of Lekki, and you wake up one morning and your chairs are, you know,
floating. You're
floating. And the government did tell people to move away to uplands. But when you say move to uplands, where do they go?
Where are the uplands in Lagos? Maybe the mainland. There are still many parts of mainland, even though they are called mainland, that are still...
So even if you wake up in the morning and leave your house and say, okay, I'm moving with my family and maybe 5 children or 3 children, what happens to their education? What happens to their job? What happens to your job? Because most people take houses close to proximity, especially in Lagos, given the heavy traffic you get to experience, right? When you put all of this into, you know, into perspective, it makes you begin to wonder, right? Since this problem doesn't just affect the poor, it affects the rich, it affects everybody, it affects the policymakers, why do you think critical attention hasn't been given to it at all?
Because we have those who we have saddled the responsibility of making policies, or those who have taken it upon themselves, rather than saying we saddled them, they took it upon themselves to make policies, are people who seem to be bereft of ideas. To say they have run out of ideas, maybe to put it kindly, it would suggest that they probably had ideas before. In clear terms, quite a number of them never had idea what it means to govern. We live in a system where the concept of governance has been reduced to conchop. So when a man thinks of governance and governing position, he's thinking of it's an invitation to, you know, come chop. So he doesn't understand that there's a responsibility that goes with governance. And I'll give you a very good example. Just step into any of our streets now, ask anybody, even some of the people you think are right thinking, ask them what is the function of a local government councillor. Even ask a councillor what is the function of a councillor. I bet you quite a number of them don't know what their function is. They think their function is to, you know, to pay for burial levy and give money for naming ceremony for those that supported them during their election. The local government chairman thinks that his function is, I mean, we have a crazy situation. So I bet you some of those lawmakers don't even know that they represent the people. They think the only connection between them and the people starts and ends on election day. After election, they are disconnected from the people and don't have anything to do with them again until the next election. So it's a situation where it is not because these things are insurmountable. Let's say use the flood situation, the sea level of Lagos. Netherlands, Holland, as a country, is below sea level. They should be suffering from perennial fraud every time. But you see, they have been able to do some things that have saved them. They have been able to build Arada. They've been able to, through technology, save their society from being submerged by sea. So we are not even asking for something that has not been done before.
There's a prototype out there.
Absolutely, you can. And even in the same Lagos State, using Babich, for example, Babich used to take over the whole of Ahmadu Bello Way and beyond. But, you know, after some time ago, somebody did something, you know, there was some sort of a wedge holding back the sea. Now, even though the Babich question may not have been completely solved, but the ferocity has been reduced. So we are not talking of templates that has not been. We are not talking about inventing the wheel. You know, it's a wheel that has already been invented. It's about going out there and knowing how these people did it and copy the same thing adjust it to your own system. And so all the things we ask of governance,
Right.
But how be it? When I use the word ask, I use the word ask carefully, because that's another issue with the Nigerian system. Nigerians don't demand enough of those who govern them. And even when demands are made, and I talked about the councillors thinking that
Right.
what there is, it's because people also act strongly. I think it also comes to the citizen. Most of the Nigerian citizen does not understand what it means to be a citizen. They don't understand that citizenship comes with a right, as it comes with a responsibility. When I say I am a citizen, I don't just mean I was born in Nigeria.
Right.
My grandparents, as defined by the Nigerian Constitution, my grandparents were people born in Nigeria before October 1st, 1960. It goes beyond that. It goes to the fact that I have a political right. I have a right to be protected. I have a right to certain provisions
Right.
from the state. Akin to this is what happened in the ancient Greek city system, where not everybody that lived in Greek was a citizen. Citizens have some rights, but this is something many Nigerians have not come to internalize. If we internalize it, maybe we would demand more, and maybe we would be able to check some of these excesses. I mean, it staggers my imagination. And you know, the thing is that Lagos is even one of the most advanced states.
Right.
Even when you talk of political sophistication or the expectance of the citizens, you have more enlightened citizens in Lagos. So if this type of thing can happen in Lagos, you can imagine what would happen in Ebonyi. You can imagine what would happen in Zamfara, Kebbi,
Right.
you know, such remote places.
While you talk about enlightened citizens, I want to draw your attention a little bit. Now, this 50 kVA generators, 50 pieces of it has now been bought, and the cars. I did see several videos of cars completely enmeshed.
By the way, sorry,
Where do
let
they
me
park
take your
these cars?
attention. Now, these guys are thinking of buying generators for themselves. In the past, the state would excuse itself that electricity is in the exclusive list. But generation of electricity is even something states can do now. Rather than these guys thinking of how to generate electricity in Lagos and how to make Lagos self-sufficient for how to make electricity self-sufficient for everybody that lives there, for all the business that lives there, they're thinking of providing electricity
for themselves, which will still stay on the same ground, mounted on the same ground when the flood comes. Are they going to be holding it?
With the attendant environmental pollution that
Right.
goes with it. No, or maybe they've bought a soundproof generator.
Even if it were soundproof, when
additional cost of fueling it.
When the flood comes, where does this generator stay? Where do these cars park? Still in the water where the flood is?
They probably don't think about that. Typical of Nigeria, we just put it out at small time it go, or somebody will say, oh, it's an act of God, and we push it back to God.